Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glenn Sutherland. This week, I have my repeat guest, Kayla's back. Kayla, tell everybody a bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Glenn, for having me back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I talk about you all the time. I tell everyone you're the first Canadian that I've known who started to get out of Ontario and get into the States. So thanks so much for having me back.
Oh, thanks.
For people who don't know me, my name is Kayla Andrade. I am a landlord for the last 22 years. I am going on 15 years of being a housing advocate, trying to make changes in the Ontario landscape of the Residential Tenancy Act, the Landlord and Tenant Board. And of course, I love to dabble into, what the government's doing with government housing, nonprofit, analyzing their system and knowing that there is problems there as well, and trying to be able to give my opinion. And of course, having our Ontario Landlords Watch group where we can have a safe place for our landlords and our property managers, real estate agents, and even our paralegals to come in, talk about what they're going through. And then we like to work together as a team to help them navigate this crazy kangaroo court system of the Landlord and Tenant Board, or just give some out of the box management ideas that they can use when they are dealing with either their professional bad tenants or their good tenants. So that's kind of me in a nutshell on different committees and getting myself out there, trying to get our message out there. And I love being part of podcasts and being able to share our message out there. And thank you, Glenn, for giving me that opportunity today.
Oh, no problem. I think it's so powerful to get you out there. And honestly, like, I see all the stuff you've done, and it looks like the hardest job in the world. It's like I love the idea, but I'm like, man, that does not look easy. What have you been working on recently?
Well, recently, my most recent. So besides the report that we're sharing with major carriers in the Scarborough Business Association, who presented some information to the finance minister to give some advocacy efforts and more support to our industry, I've also created a petition, and the petition is calling for the resignation of Doug Downey. And Doug Downey is the Attorney General, so he oversees the Landlord and Tenant Board. He also oversees the eviction process. So landlords who are waiting 12 weeks before you get your sheriff out there, Doug Downey is your guy. So, we always look at the minister, we look at Doug Ford. Like, I think we really need to educate our community of which elected officials do what and hold them accountable. And that's why I've made that petition. Now, again, we're seeing election coming very early in than we expected. So that is going to, result in a petition dying. But this is about a mission of, getting the support from our community members to sign it. Also get a message to Doug Ford that I think you need to reevaluate who is your Attorney General, and understanding that the changes that are being made are not enough to make an impact to continue to keep our landlords here in Ontario, which will just end up, losing more supply that is desperately needed to house the people that we need. So, I really encourage everyone to go over there, at least give that signature, give it a share, read it, of course, because this is what this man has done. And he's been in power since 2019, being in this role. So, I did expect a lot more from him, and now is just a no hard feelings. We just need someone better to take over and get fresh eyes on an issue, because we can't expect the same mindset that created the problem to fix it. So this is why we call upon a new change.
So just to get my head wrapped around this, so if he resigned, the idea is that we're going to have somebody else go in there and ideally, like, get the eviction time shorter, or at least the times to get to the landlord tenant board, or like, what kind of things do you think could get fixed, but just having somebody else there?
Well, one, we need a strong lineup of our adjudicators. If anyone can go and look up the adjudicators, there's a little bit of a background to who these adjudicators are. Cancel that guy. That was my kid.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Nobody watches.
He's on lunch hour. So want to cut that one?
Here, we'll do a 3 seconds to pause here.
Okay.
All right, I'll find it.
Okay, so we do have the adjudicators. They do need to be, looked at a little bit more of a serious approach. We've had 5 adjudicators resign. Their backgrounds of where they come from, I think their background to what they had in previous employment is definitely contributing to how they rule at the landlord and tenant board. Even our paralegals are coming out and saying, "Hey, we do have some great paralegals or adjudicators that are at the landlord and tenant board, but there is some that are just like, what is wrong with you?" And that is where some of our adjudicators are looking at an N12, which is a personal use application, and telling the landlord that they're going to give the tenant 6 months to stay in that property. And the landlord, because they sold their property firm, they can go out and they could be the person to rent until the tenant leaves. And you would say that's, okay, you got to wait 6 months, but the tenants have filed a stay. So they actually want the whole application to be reviewed in order to try to stop it completely. So this is what we're trying to say. Like, I'm sorry, like the RTA says 60 days notice. There's nothing in bad faith. Why are we waiting 6 months, even though the landlord just initially filed in July? So they had from July until the end of May in order to vacate their home. So this is where they are utilizing small landlords as a social agency without compensation. And that's why the landlords and the real estate agents and the property managers, we need to come together and say enough's enough. Because of this treatment towards the private housing sector, we are losing supply, which is putting pressure on taxpayers in order to try to come up with money and funds to keep building, managing, maintaining, and subsidizing government housing or nonprofit housing.
Yeah.
So that's one, but we do need to figure out what their problems are. And if the number one application, Glenn, at the landlord and tenant board is non-payment of rent, we need to streamline that. We need to streamline the personal use applications. The tenants have up to 2 years to take a landlord back to court if they found that what they've done was in bad faith. Why do we need a hearing? So these are things that is just the procedures and the process that are in place. And a lot of people are questioning, are our elected officials doing this now on purpose? Are they making it longer because it does take some relief from the municipalities who may have to subsidize that person to live in a short-term emergency shelter? Could be about $3,000 a month to house one person in an emergency shelter. So are they doing it on purpose?
Yeah. And, I think what they don't realize it trickles down to as well is like, if people are the landlord and they get, they have to go through this whole process, and sometimes they don't get their rent for a long period of time, or sometimes they can't even move into the house that they need to move into, because say maybe they got divorced or something and they need that rental property to actually live in now, and they can't actually get access to their own property. I know, because based on the podcast we're on right now, people are just switching. Like I've just done a bunch of podcasts on just investing in New Brunswick, investing in Alberta, investing in other provinces if they're not comfortable with the States, or just switching countries altogether. Costa Rica, US, Mexico.
People feel safe with the Mexican drug cartel than they do with their own government.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. And then I think you said in that when you were talking, like it creates a shortage of rentals, which doesn't help the tenants, because then the prices go up, because the demand has changed, because there's just not enough homes for all these people, and there's so many people moving into the country, and there isn't a place for them to stay, and it just keeps compounding. And it really comes down to, if we could change what you're trying to do, what you're trying to activate. That's not the right word.
I want to activate it. I want to activate it, though.
Yeah. But yeah, if we get some of this stuff solved at the start, then it would trickle through all of these things. It would make it easier. If it's easier for landlords to make this work, then more people will want to be landlords. Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I just wanted to let you know that I've created a new coaching program. I believe the new coaching program has way more value than any of the programs that have even existed in the past. What we've done is pre-recorded all the lessons so that you can work through it at your own pace, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to meet up on a regular basis to answer the questions, do deal analysis, and actually spend our time together working on things instead of spending our time learning things. I think this will make a seamless transition to buying in the United States and will help you solve a lot of your problems. If this is of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com/coaching. I hope to help you guys invest in the United States, and I hope we provide as much value as possible. back to the podcast.
Oh yeah. And that's where we had the tools that we need in front of us to encourage people now, because the system in itself is discouraging people and we're looking for provinces. And I think we need to be encouraging more people to listen to your podcast to know which state we should be investing in, because that's what people want to know now, like which states are going to be, investor friendly.
Yeah, because there still is I don't really want to go down that path, but for anyone who is listening, that it's not that the U.S. is all, perfect in any means. There is states with rent control that's way worse than Ontario. Like you might be going into a place that you're going to have more problems than you have in Canada, where like it's tied to the building, where you can't move your rent up, even though there is some jurisdictions in Ontario that are doing that as well. So even when you move tenants out, you can't move up to market. But anyway, you said that there was a spot they could go and sign for this. You didn't. I don't think you listed the website or where they go to do that.
It's on change.org, but if you go onto the Ontario Landlords Watch Facebook page, there is the link right there. His face is there, so you can see the signature there as well. And once it gets recorded, I can put it into the chat when it is released. I'll make sure that I put the link in there. But it is important for people to understand who's who, and sometimes we have these elected officials making changes to our industry, and they just fly underneath the radar. Like a lot of people just think, oh, it's just Paul Calandra. He's the Minister of Housing. Let's just look at him. Like, no, we also need to look at, his assistant, his associate. Like we have, Matthew Ray. So these are all like key players. And, it's great to try to be vocal online. We have an election coming. There's meetings that these people host, in which there's a ticket price. It's like $1,000, just to get into these meetings, to meet with these people and show, hey, I'm supporting you. You need to support our industry. But, we're a free advocacy group. So there's not much like of $1,000 ticket. So if anyone wants to give me $1,000 to go to one of their events, I am totally open for that. But we do have a meeting coming up on March 18th, and which is open for about 200 people actually. So we'll put that link on here if we can get this out in enough time, where there is going to be a roundtable discussion with our elected officials, and that's going to be done with Major Cares and the president of the Scarborough Business Association, who's doing this part of it. So he's opened the doors for us. Obviously, we know that there is an election too at the same time. So hopefully nothing changes. But as of right now, it is happening. And this is our opportunity to speak with elected officials and also encourage us to reach out to our MPPs and just be cautious on, yes, we see, like I'm telling you to ask Doug Downey, who is a conservative, it's a step down, but our liberals are not going to be any better. We've had them on different videos talking about rent control in between tenancies. They obviously are very pro with the rent eviction bylaws that are coming out. So we do have to be very careful on who we're voting for, and it's not bad. Like you just because like you like the conservatives, there's just a few players that need to be switched around. Like, but I'll definitely make sure I'll give everybody the notes and make sure you have the invite for this event.
Perfect. What was the date of that again? Just so I make
sure. That was March 17th and the 18th. So the roundtable is going to be on the 18th, and then they have like a walk around. I think like a half a day event where you're walking around, checking everything out, being like little tourists. It's like, wow, this is where you guys don't listen to us.
Okay, I'll make sure this comes out well before that.
Yeah. But like this is, and we're always going to try to keep the conversation going with our elected officials. But until then, like guys, we want to make sure everyone's aware of different products and tools that are out there to help you. Being the ambassador to Front Lobby, rent reporting, and monthly rent reporting is going to be key into preventing us from getting those nasty tenants that we have to go to the landlord and tenant board with. So it is key for us to be able to introduce that in through our tenant screening. You can introduce it through, if they are already your tenant. You don't need an order. You don't need the tenant's consent to report a debt. You just need their consent to report good payment history to actually help them build their credit. But that's going to be a key, I think, a key tool that all of our landlords in Ontario need until we can potentially get those changes that I'm advocating for and other people are advocating for. It's my goal is to try to get more people doing what I do so that I can retire. I've been doing this for 15 years now. So it's great to see other people on board. But I don't know when the time is when I say like we've been beat, but I've never had that bad tenant. I had like when a good tenant gone bad, I had the couple and they split up and I got stuck with the husband. But that's my experience. I do it for the other landlords who call me on a regular basis looking for help and guidance.
And well, that's an interesting way to interesting segue anyway. Um, I had the same sort of thing, even when I had Ontario rental properties where I got stuck with a tenant after splitting. Do you think that maybe that's part of just the way that you screen your tenants before you start?
For telling them about rent reporting?
Yeah, rent reporting,
Oh,
like just
yeah. You put that in the ad, so that kind of like limits how many people are responding to you because they don't know what rent reporting is. And the other ads, like when they're going around, they love the place. Like, oh my God, I love it. Thank you so much. Like, what's the process? What information do you have? Oh, here's the rental application. We're going to need something from your work. Oh, yeah, by the way, I also do monthly rent reporting. So I can actually help you build your credit. I know you probably have some good credit, but I can help build your credit. But it also does the opposite. So that if you don't pay on time, it also impacts you. Their face drains. Like it's just like they were so excited. They thought they were gonna get it. And then as soon as you tell them about rent reporting, it's like, okay, they know like, okay, we do this on a regular basis. We're gonna get caught, knowing that this landlord knows what they're doing. And that's our goal is to teach these landlords how to be professional landlords, but in a very customer service way, right? Some landlords are very like, so where do you work? Who's living here? You got a dog? Do you smoke in here? It's like, calm down. Like, I'd be like, oh, I just quit smoking. It's so hard. And they're like, oh, yeah, I've been struggling with it too. They tell you because like, obviously, I'm not smoking, but they tell me they're smoking. I tell them about Fluffy, my dog, who just peed on the carpet at home, and that's why I'm late. But I don't got Fluffy. You got
yeah.
to do what you got to do. You're protecting everything that you have on the line. You have a lot of risk. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do to protect what's mine and what's going to be my kids' future. And I'm going to do it, by following the laws, right? But I'm definitely going to make sure tenant screening is so key. And so many landlords don't do credit checks. When I talk to these landlords who are dealing with difficult tenants, I'm asking them like, all these red flag items like I'm like, did you do a credit check? Well, they brought me their credit check. And I'm like, no, Photoshop. I'm like, I just put me and Pierre fishing together because I was able to Photoshop that. It looks
Yeah.
like I'm fishing with Pierre. I'm like, do not take any credit check from a tenant. You conduct your own long form Equifax. Look at the trade lines, look at available debt. Don't just look at the score. Match up their address with what they're putting on the application. Does it line up? Their employment. Like there's so much that is available to us. It's just there's not enough resources out there to help us get that education to this community. So hopefully with the finance minister, it was a recommendation to provide more support into getting this education to our landlords.
Okay, and so somebody hears all this and they're going, wow, there's a whole bunch of tips there. And I bet you that Kayla has a bunch of others. If they wanted to learn this, do you have a course? Do they just go to the Ontario Landlord Watch Facebook page? Like, where do they go to learn this? I have more free content. So if you're interested, I created a PDF guide and a video to go along with the PDF guide to complement it. And what the guide is all about is the 5 most common mistakes that Canadians make when investing in the United States. So if you're interested in this free guide, go to CanadianInvestingInTheUSA.com/mistakes. And let's go back to the podcast. And it's free.
Well, go into the Ontario Landlords Watch Facebook group. Tell us where you found out about the group, which you'll mention Glenn, and I'll get you in a little bit quicker. I'm very quick on the dial, so if you're on the wrong page, I will kick you out pretty quickly. I must say, it is our baby that we're protecting. The other aspect is reach me on Facebook as well, Kayla Andrade. Send me a friend request or a follow. You can also get me on LinkedIn, and I do one-on-one consultations now as of 2025 to kind of help guide our landlords. So you can book a consultation with me as well.
I love it. Before we go, just this popped in my head too. I'm like, you should run to try and be our whatever that guy's name was. I guess you have to be part of one of those parties, though. You have to get in with them first, right?
Doug Downey. You got to remember the guy's name.
Doug Downey.
We're sending him out like hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back. You know what? A lot of people have said that. They're like, who are you thinking? I'm like, I'm scouting right now who I would like to see replace him. But everyone's like, I think you should. I said, sorry, my husband will divorce me. I got 22 years invested into this marriage. I love you landlords. I love the industry, but I love my husband more, guys. So I got to hold on to him. I don't think he wants me traveling. So I think that's probably why.
Yeah.
Plus, he has to shut up online too. If I was an elected official, they want very polished people as their candidates, and if you're too vocal and say it like it is, I'm sorry, this is not your girl. I'm Newfie all the way. I say what I speak.
Well, everybody who's it lives in Ontario, whenever this comes around for we find out who the different candidates are going to be, you have to go to Ontario Landlord Watch, figure out who Kayla's scouted and who she thinks is going to be the best one, and I'm just going to follow her vote.
Now the pressure's on. We can, but we got to hopefully someone that's willing to listen. We don't expect these elected officials to know everything, and I think they know that, but what we do expect them to do is reach out to the housing experts in the industry, not just people who are, nonprofits trying to just put the support together for the people. You need to be proactive, and you need to partner with the right people who are providing housing. And that's where we are. We're looking at, we're going backwards in society. We're not looking at providing more housing. We're degrading ourselves to say, okay, now we have to use our motels as shelters. Our shelters are full. We're buying shipping containers from China and putting that into like a lot of land that could have much, much more units being built to house the most vulnerable. They have outdoor shelters and tent encampments. Like, this is Canada. This is what our government has done, and this is why people should take the time to look at the candidates, look at the party themselves. Don't just go on what media is telling you about these elected officials, but at the same time, like, don't put all your hope and prayer into government. You got to honestly take your own thoughts and run with it and reach your own goals, and don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Love it. Kayla, before I let you go, we mentioned Ontario Landlord Watch. Where else do they find you? If they want to hear more about you, what more stuff you're talking about, where do they find you?
I'm on TikTok and LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook group, Facebook page, my personal page. I think I have a Telegram going on. I'm going on Truth Social. Like, these are all the avenues where, I know that we try to reach out to as many people, and there's like, how do you see everybody that you have on Facebook? So please reach out to me there. And also my email. So it's olwlandlords@gmail.com. You can also send me a private email there, and I'll make sure I try to reach out to you. But from the 1st to the 11th though of February, I'm going on a beach and I'm taking some time off.
Which I think would be well deserved.
I can't wait. So if you guys see me Facebook Live and in the group in that time frame, there's a chance I'm drunk.
Kayla,
that's when
awesome
the truth
interview.
comes out.
I really appreciate you coming on. I think that there was a lot of valuable tips, and I think it even just helps create awareness of what's going on, and what even for myself, because I don't watch the news as much as I used to, because I don't even have satellite anymore. So it's sometimes you just need to get refreshed on different things, and in my case, I'll just actually have you on my show and get to pick your brain personally. But some people have to listen to it, and anyway, I think this was great. It was really informative for a lot of people.
Well, I'm glad. And you know what? Thank you, Glenn, for getting into this. And I hope to make you an advocate as well. Just constantly just reminding people how important it is. All policy changes do impact your abilities to invest no matter where you are in the world. So making sure that we are, collaborating, and we're becoming that strong voice, right? Because we do have a lot of potential. It's a great industry to still be in. You just need to make sure that you're fully aware of what can go wrong. Know that information before things go wrong, so you know how to activate it now and not waste time just trying to learn that information. But either way, whenever that time comes, I am here to support our landlords with my years of experience. I'm not a paralegal, but I am here to help them and guide them in any way that I possibly can, and turn them into an advocate as well. And hopefully one day we will get that leader at the board and make the changes that these landlords and tenants do deserve.
Thank you, Kayla.
Thanks, Glenn.
That was a nice video. Bye.